Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brian Trasher from Laws and Sausage TV with another weekly political rundown. Now, lots of stuff going on in politics in the last week, but nothing has dominated the news headlines like the awful, tragic mass shooting at the high school in Parkland, Florida, that claimed the lives of 17 innocent children and injured a few more. And also, I think at least one or two teachers were in that list of fatalities. So just an awful situation, and there's just absolutely no way that tragedy like this would not bleed over into the political discussion. It always does, especially when it has to do with guns. The first thing that happens is the media rushes to get a lot of information out into the public sphere, and in the process gets a lot of things wrong. In the process, reports a lot of things inaccurately, and then of course, social media being what it is, people are out there putting out information that's not true, and it only really makes the situation worse. And you know, some of the inaccurate information by the media is that they were immediately rushing to try to connect the shooter, who we now know is identified as 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz, trying to connect him with some sort of white nationalist type group, or some group having to do with bigotry as their core mission, and that turned out not to be true. He, according to authorities, what we know so far, has no type of affiliation with any kind of political movement. He was on psychotropic medications, if I read the story correctly. He's someone who had a lot of mental issues. And obviously, you would think you would have to have mental issues to commit a crime as heinous as this. But nevertheless, that's the reports that are out there now. And, of course, there's no way to not bring up the topic of gun control. But what really is making this shooting different than many others with regards to the debate on gun control is that the kids themselves at the high school seem to be kind of taken up and speaking up, not just on social media, but on TV and radio and other types of of mediums, and saying, hey, enough is enough. We want more protection at school. Now, that's all fine and good. Definitely encourage that. Make your voices heard. Don't make your classmates' deaths and your teachers' deaths in vain. Try to get out there and do something about it. Now, one of the things that was put out there as far as false information by not necessarily the media, but by some other people on social media and whatnot, is about this weapon, this rifle called the AR-15. It's a very popular rifle. There's a lot of them sold. First thing that people come out and say is that it's an assault rifle. It is not an assault rifle. And I'm not here to defend this particular gun or gun laws. There's a ton of gun laws on the books everywhere in America now, but that's not what I'm talking about with regards to this gun. It's the AR stands for Armalite, which is just a type of brand of gun that it is. But people, were out there saying it stood for assault rifle. It doesn't. Another thing that people misconceive about AR-15s is that they are fully automatic machine guns. This is not true. They're semi-automatic. And semi-automatic means that you have to pull the trigger in order for a bullet to come out of the gun. You cannot hold down a trigger and multiple bullets come out. That is the definition of a machine gun. Those are illegal. Those are military-grade weapons. And if anybody has one of those without having a very special federal permit that is extremely hard to get, then they are committing a crime by having a machine gun. So, just some inaccurate things that were out there about the weapon used. Now, let's get into this gun control debate a little bit. Look, lots of gun laws were broken. Every time somebody points a gun at another human being, a crime is being committed. That's just a fact. It's either it could be attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, assault with a deadly weapon. I mean, and that's before they even pull the trigger, right? But I think the thing that's come out and has been somewhat reported, but probably very underreported, is the fact that the local FBI office was notified about this young man, Nicholas Cruz, many times, mainly because of social media posts he was making where he was threatening to shoot up schools. He was taking pictures of him with guns and possibly hurting animals or whatnot with guns. And he actually said that he would like to become a professional school shooter. Now, the FBI knew about this as early as January. They had these reports, and from what I'm being told, the Miami field office never followed up on it, never even made contact with Nicholas Cruz or with his parents or guardians or whoever he was living with. The sheriff, the local sheriff in Parkland, Florida, again, according to reports that I've read, his deputies had been called out 39 times, 39 separate calls for this one person, Nicholas Cruz. And I don't believe he was ever arrested. I don't know the circumstances of each call. It might have been a case where there was no probable cause to arrest him. But you would think that when someone's been brought to the attention of law enforcement this many times, and including the FBI, that perhaps law enforcement would have done something. I think that there's no question that law enforcement dropped the ball here. And that's something that needs to be explored. Make no mistake, the gun control debate is going to rage on. You have people from the left who think that all guns should be banned. You have people on the right who say it's a Second Amendment right and there should be a free ownership of any kind of gun. Some of them don't believe in registration. Some of them don't believe in background checks. Some of them don't believe in waiting periods. If you want to know my personal opinion, I'm a gun owner. I've been around guns all my life. And I have no problem when I go buy a gun going through a background check. Doesn't bother me. If I'm not a big fan of waiting periods, but if my state decided to, and I'm not talking about like any waiting period. I mean, like I know California, I think just passed like a 10-day waiting period. But if my state passed one, then that's just the breaks. I'm just going to have to wait in order to get my gun. And that's just the way it is. I don't think that that violates the Second Amendment because at the end of the day, they're still giving me the gun as long as I pass the background check. So anyway, this debate's going to rage on and on and on. And unfortunately, what you have is you have people using the coffins of dead children as platforms to preach political agendas. And that was happening, unfortunately, before the bodies even got cold. People, and even members of Congress, are already taking to social media calling for gun control and making a political scene out of it. Look, when something like this happens in America, okay, that's when we need heroes, not martyrs. Just remember that a martyr is someone who wants to die for his cause. A hero is someone who's willing to die for his cause, but would rather live for it. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time on Laws and Sausage TV.